All right, so when a company holds an earnings call, you get the prepared remarks, sure, but the real insights, they almost always come from the Q&A session. That's where analysts press the leadership team, and you get to see how they really think. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today with Lemonade.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We've pulled out 4 huge themes that kept coming up in the discussion. First, their tech foundation. Then, this wild growth engine they're building. After that, we'll see if it's actually working around the world. And finally, how they're getting ready for what's next. So first up, let's talk about the absolute core of their strategy. Analysts really push them on this. How deep does the AI thing really go? And the answer was pretty clear. It's not just some fancy feature, it's the entire operating system for the company. It's in their DNA. This was basically the question of the hour. And the answer is, it's everywhere. We're not talking about some siloed AI department. It's getting used to write their own software code, to figure out where to spend marketing dollars. And, as we're about to see, it's completely changing the economics of how they handle claims.
A perfect example of this is a tool they talked about called Local. Think of it as a secret weapon for innovation. It lets their non-tech teams, like the actuaries and product managers, build and launch totally new insurance products without writing a single line of code. Stuff that used to take weeks, now it takes hours. That's a huge deal.
And you can see this focus reflected in who they're bringing into the boardroom. They got asked about bringing on these heavy hitters from Meta and PayPal, and they were super clear. This isn't about some fluffy corporate partnership. It's about getting world-class brainpower in the 2 things that matter most to them: AI and building a brand people actually love. Look, this AI-driven efficiency isn't just a talking point. You can see it in the numbers. They've managed to slash the cost of handling claims, that's a key metric called LAE, in half over the last 3 years. And get this, they did it while the number of claims they were handling grew 2.5 times. That's incredible.
But here's the kicker. They're not done. Not even close. When they got pressed on this, the team said the goal is to cut that number in half again as the business doubles. That is the magic of using technology to turn costs that usually scale up with the business into fixed costs.
So with that AI foundation locked in, let's look at how they're growing. The Q&A really pulled back the curtain on this. And it's not just about outspending the competition. They're trying to fundamentally break the rules of customer acquisition. One analyst asked about this idea of CAC-less growth. So what is that? Well, imagine you already have a customer who pays for renter's insurance. When you sell them a car policy, you didn't have to spend any new marketing money to find them. They're already in the family. That second policy is effectively free to acquire. And this isn't some small niche strategy. They confirmed that more than half of all new car customers are coming through this channel. For your fastest growing product, that completely transforms the economics. It's a total game changer. But then the CEO, Daniel Schreiber, he goes even further. He says it's not just zero cost, it's negative cost. And his logic is fascinating. He says these customers are better in every way. They're more profitable, they have fewer claims, and they stick around longer. So they're not just free, they're actually a net positive from day one. This quote really gets to the heart of their philosophy. When asked about profitability, the CEO made it clear they are obsessed with maximizing absolute gross profit dollars. They'd rather make more actual money, even if it means a higher loss ratio on paper in some areas. It's about the total dollars in the bank, not just pretty percentages. Okay, so we've got the tech and we've got this really unique growth model. But does it actually, work in the real world? Well, the Q&A gave us a pretty clear window into how it's all performing, and the results are pretty compelling. So let's start with Europe. An analyst asked how things were going over there, and the leadership team's words were spectacularly well. Why? Because the business is growing at a staggering 170% year over year. And that growth means their customer base in Europe has literally doubled in just the last 12 months. But what's really important is how they're growing. They noted that the European business is actually healthier and more profitable than the US business was at the same stage, all because their AI can learn and adapt to new markets faster. And you see the same kind of story in their pet insurance business. When asked about the competition, the CFO pointed out that they've reached a size in 4 to 5 years that took the old-school pet-only insurance companies more than a decade to build. Again, it just speaks to the incredible speed of their model. Okay, finally the conversation turned to the really big picture stuff. The future. Investors and analysts wanted to know how Lemonade is thinking about what might be the biggest disruption to insurance ever: self-driving cars. I mean, Seriously, think about it. If cars don't crash anymore, what happens to car insurance? For most of the industry, that's a terrifying question. But for Lemonade, their leadership sees this not as a threat, but as a massive opportunity that plays right into their technological strengths.
And they're not just talking about it, they're already building for it. They revealed they have a direct integration with Tesla's API. This lets them pull incredibly detailed data, like whether you're wearing your seatbelt, straight from the car. It helps them price risk better today, and it prepares them for a future where the car is doing more and more of the driving itself.
They basically explain that their whole system is designed for this future. It's built to handle pricing based on how you actually use your car, to know the difference between when a human is driving versus the computer, and to change your policy in real time based on that data.
So when you piece it all together, what becomes really clear is that Lemonade isn't just trying to be a better insurance company for today. They're trying to build the architecture for the insurance of tomorrow. Which leaves us with a pretty wild final thought. If AI gets good enough to run the insurance company, and good enough to drive the car, what does the very nature of risk even look like in the future?